PowerPoint will get out to everybody too. So awesome. Well, thank you, ICHRIE, for organizing this and announcing this and hosting this. It's great to have everybody join us on a Friday morning. Appreciate or Friday sometime of the day for those of you not in the U.S. So glad to have you join us, and I'm going to go ahead and share my screen, and we'll jump right in. Can everybody see that? Okay. Good. Okay.
Yes.
So I'll go through this. We'll spend probably about 45 minutes going through this. I definitely want this to be an informal session. I'd love to hear your input and your suggestions. As long as time is going okay, don't feel like you have to wait and have questions at the end. I do have a few uh, points within the presentation we're going to ask for input, and we'll pause a little bit and let you share any ideas or questions that you might have. So let's just jump right in. I think everybody knows enough about STR. I have a slide in here in case somebody is brand new and doesn't know about the company. If you need more information, get back to me and let me know. We did hit the 87,000 mark, so that's a record. That participation grows every month. And this is a little bit about our Share Center program. Next year we'll be celebrating 15 years. Hard to believe, and but really enjoyed it and have enjoyed so much working with y'all and supporting academia around the world. Um, I want to get into the essentials in a minute, but before I do that, I want to talk a little bit about our certifications. We have four analytic related certifications, and I want to just back up and set the stage for the new stuff in a minute. And we have the CHIA. That's been obtained. Dwayne, we need to get Dwayne's on the call as well. Thank you, Dwayne, for joining. We need to get an update on that, but we're getting close to 50,000 participants. These would be students, professors, and industry professionals that have obtained the CHIA. At the end of last year, we launched a recertification. If you took the CHIA Train the Trainer session earlier, you can sign up for the recertification. You can get that online on our learning management system. I should have had that in there. We'll share that with you. It's e-learning. Dwayne, what is it? E-learning at CoStar.com. And we'll get that for you later. But you can take the CHIA recertification right now. That will give you all of the new functionality. So that's definite. If you haven't taken the CHIA for a while and want to get a brush up, that's the way to do it. Now, our second certification was related to advanced analytics, and we called that the CADA. Now, we're going to make some changes to that later this year, and I'll tell you more about that in a minute. We do have that revenue management certification. We do that with the RevMe group. The RevMe group are the top revenue management professors from all over the world, and we're honored to be able to work with them on that. And a new certification that we're actually piloting and hoping to launch later this year is a real estate analytics certification. It will be called the CREA, the CoStar Real Estate Analytics Certification. And so those are our four certifications up to this point. I think everybody's probably familiar with those. Okay, now, next up, some changes that we're planning for the STR certifications later this year. There's several changes that are on the table, and I want to share them with you, and would love to hear from you. And you may want to share in the group. If you think about it later and want to drop me an email, I would love that. And I'm so glad to have Bob on the call, and just want to acknowledge, Bob and his wife Cynthia were, instrumental when we launched the Chia. It was totally a team effort, and I got, we received incredible input from people like Bob. AJ the same way. I think both of those, all of those guys were in the very first train the trainer session. Cynthia was president of ICHRIE at the time, and just the CHIA would not be where it is today if it wasn't for the input from people like that. And so I appreciate that, and appreciate them being here for that as well. So anyway, a couple things as far as the CHIA is concerned, and you can see in the second paragraph, I say, with the popularity of micro-credentialing and badging, the trend seems to be that students, let me move my picture out of the way, that students and professionals prefer a certification name related to the title rather than the topic. So, I am a certified hotel industry analyst rather than I know hotel industry analytics. So we're planning to make that change, and so the CHIA, well, that one's pretty easy because those people would now be certified hotel industry analysts. So that's a change that we'll be implementing later this year. Um, Another change, we're going to be changing the kata, and we obtained a whole lot of input at the end of last year, even into this year, related to the kata. We launched the kata back in 2019, Certification in Advanced Hotel and Tourism Analytics. We're going to split the content into two different certifications. I'll share with you the outline in just a minute, but the kata had four different chapters. The first two chapters cover a market study and an event impact analysis. We will take that content and create a new certification. It'll be, kata Kata 2, but it'll be called the Hotel Hospitality and Tourism Research Specialist. And you can see we're still trying to think about abbreviations for that. But again, it'll be a title, but it'll be a person rather than a topic. So again, would love your input on this, but that's where we're headed for the kata. And I'll show you the exact outline and how that would work in a minute. Keep going. There are, as I said, there are four chapters in the kata. The fourth chapter is a chapter on a feasibility study. So the feasibility content will be moved to a brand new certification that would be called Hospitality Real Estate Research Specialist. Somebody like AJ who, has a major focus on real estate would be that this kind of thing would be a perfect fit for his students and would specify that it's not just advanced analytics, but it's focused on hospitality real estate. Again, that would be a separate certification. I failed to mention back at the kata, because we're splitting the kata up, we would then move that to a $95 price, just like the CHIA. And I think from what I'm picking up from hearing from y'all is that $95 price point is a little more digestible for students than the original price point for the kata was 150. So same with the feasibility. That would be a new certification. Don't know what the abbreviation would be exactly, but again, at a $95 price point. The CREA, that's the real estate analytics, would then change slightly like the CHIA to be a CoStar real estate analyst. And later, with our, as we're serving real estate departments, we would then have real estate research specialist certifications related to different property types. And if anybody wants a real estate 101 course, I needed it. The property types are office, industrial, retail, multifamily, another one. And we would have specific real estate research specialists, not just a hospitality real estate research specialist, but like an office industrial real estate research specialist as well. That would be next year, not anytime too soon. Along those lines, I've also proposed a similar change that is, more of a focus on the title to the RevMe group. Right now, that certification is simply revenue management certification. So I proposed a sexier title, or excuse me, a cooler title than revenue management certification. And then, of course, the question, and I'll we're getting to this in just a minute, but related to the career essential topics, then the question is, do we want a certification related to that as well? And that's one of the reasons we're together, just to show that to you and get your ideas of what you think would be best. So again, just an emphasis. We really need to hear from you. These are ideas we have, and we'd love to get your input. Let us know if we're on track, off track. Love to hear your suggestions here. So here's the CHIA. Not much change here. No change to the outline if you haven't seen that for a while. But the CHIA would be Certification and Hotel Industry Analyst. This would be the new CATA outline. So it's going to have 4 chapters, but the main chapters would be chapter number 2, how to conduct a market study, and chapter number 3, how to conduct an event impact analysis. And then the project, remember, this one does require students not just to pass an exam, but to complete a project. This would allow us to have the students do a market study for the project, then pick an event in that market and have them analyze that event. So that would be, a lot of schools do that already. Um, uh, Lausanne, that's the way they deliver the kata. So, and we are even talking about maybe changing the market study competition to include an event as well. And it's a real great way to do it. But again, easier, less content. A lot of people have told us that the feasibility content is just too much in the kata, so we're splitting it out. And the chapter 3 on economics, I'll show you where that goes in a minute. Didn't forget about that. But this would be potentially the new kata, and I think we're 199% sure on this one. But again, would love to hear your input. So this was the original kata. I put it in here in case, like I said, we'll get the PowerPoints out to everybody. So this is the original kata. And then for the revenue management, these are the top, the table of contents for the book. And these are the topics that got covered in that. And again, proposing that this would change to a title type certification rather than a topic. We'll chat with RevMe more about that. And here's the CREA in case you hadn't seen that before, and that would be the CoStar Real Estate Analyst. Good. All right, let me pause there. This is sort of the existing certifications that we have, the 4 certifications, and some of the potential changes we have there. Any input
So Steve,
related to that?
we do have a question from Michael. Michael, I think you should be unmuted.
Hi, everyone. I can unmute. I'm in a Starbucks with really loud
Okay,
music.
I'll read your question. I do like the music though. Okay. So, sorry. So Michael's question, I know, I was like, I like the music. For those who have completed the CAHTA courses already, will they be required to take the new courses, or will they automatically be updated to get both certifications to update this credential, or no change?
Michael, that's a real good idea. I think what we'll do, let's do this. Dwayne has gotten me a list of everybody who has delivered the kata in the past to students. Let's get them all back together maybe next month, probably next month would be good, and have a dedicated workshop just to talk about issues like that. It's a good question, though.
Great. Thank you, Steve. And I'll Shazam the song and I'll send it to you.
Bob, are you still with us? I know you had a meeting that you had to run off with. Bob, any initial? I know you need to head to another meeting, but I just wanted to recognize Bob O'Halloran and let him say hi to everybody. And Bob, if you had any initial thoughts, would love to hear them too. Are you there, sir? He may have already had to run off to that meeting. No problem. Okay. Okay, next slide. Let's talk about the industry career essentials. Now, what I've listed on this first slide are the topics that are in here. Just to give you some background, these are training programs that PowerPoints that I've created in the past. And I've done that working with specific professors. I've done that with FESV. FESV and I have worked on one or two of these things. A couple of professors have done the branding stuff, and I know they're using slides from 5 years ago that we created. The stakeholders, Inez at EHL, we did a geography thing once, and then so a lot of these have come out of things that I've created in the past. And what I've done at the end of in the fall of 2025 is really just try to pull all these together, update the content, reorganize a lot, and you'll see the outlines in a minute. But these are the topics, and I'll just go through them quickly. I've underlined the main point: stakeholders, geography, branding, big data, development, economics, and hot topics. Now, those were the 7 main topics that I was working on. Now, this has been a fun, it's been an incredibly fun experience doing this, because as I was fine-tuning all of this, what kept happening was I started, I got all these great reasons for a student to consider a career in hospitality. Think about the geography. What industry is more global than the hospitality and tourism industry? None. Oh, that's a great reason to consider a career in hospitality. So as I was working on these 7 topics, I kept coming up with, hey, that's another good reason to have a career in hospitality. So I started separately collecting all of those reasons. I have 33 reasons now, and that's one of the ways, you guys, I'd love to get your help, because you guys are going to come up with a lot more good reason, guys and girls, sorry, and would love to add to that. I've sent that around to some professors for their input and obtained some additional things, and then we'd love to get some industry input on that as well. So that's number 8. And then 9 and 10 are both resources that I thought of. Again, as I was creating all of this, I thought about 2 other things that we could do related to career essentials. So anyway, these are the basic topics, and I'm going to share little samples and outlines of each of these in a minute, so you can see more of what I'm thinking about. I put brief descriptions in here, but I'll share with you the specific outlines and samples. And just to let you know, most of these you can have access to. They are PowerPoints, and you're welcome to have them. So let's talk a little bit about positioning of this essential training series. First of all, this is not like the CHIA or the CATA or the revenue management. This training is targeted more at freshmen or sophomore undergrads or incoming master's students, especially, mainly if they haven't had any hospitality and tourism experience. And we know, when I'm presenting to master's students, yeah, half of them maybe come from a hospitality background, half do not. So they're sort of, dropped in to the hospitality industry, but this would be a great way to help bring them up to speed. These training series are much shorter. The PowerPoints that I've created for these are more like 100 to 200 slides. I don't have videos yet, but I would create videos in the very near future, and then of course make them all available to you. The PowerPoints are available right now, so anybody that wants to look at one of these, just let me know, and we'll get you into these immediately. Of the topics that I shared back here, of the 8 topics that I've shared, what I realize is about 5 or 6 of them are more important. Stakeholders, geography, branding, big data, and career, I would think, are more important. The less important, hot topics, I'm not sure, but the less important, or, maybe not for everybody, would be the development and the economics. And I'll share with you the content in a minute. I'd love to hear your opinions on that. And then, of course, 2 of the items whether they're PowerPoints or Word documents, would be resources as well. Now, so I have I created the topics and I have a fairly, worked on a fair amount of these. And maybe I'm missing things. And again, that would be something I'd love to hear from y'all. Obviously, there are smaller chunks of training. So these topics, in and of themselves, do not warrant a certification like the CHIA or the other certifications we have. They would be more like certificates and, be, couple hours of training, 150 slides, and then potentially an exam, and you would get a certificate for that. But then the question is, well, should some, how to package these? Should some group of them then qualify a student for a certification as well? I mean, if you obtain 5 certificates, does that mean you then get a certification as, in addition to that? And that, that's all stuff we're thinking about and would definitely be open to. That makes sense to us. When it comes to naming for the certificates, again, I've been tentatively using hospitality and tourism industry career essentials. Not as necessary to have an abbreviation because if they're a certificate, you're not really putting them, you're not really adding a certificate to the name on your resume. You would do that in the case of a certification, but not for a certificate. So that probably is irrelevant. But industry career essentials, kept, that was sort of the name that I came up, sort of evolved to over time. Any other suggestions, please let me know. But that's sort of where I've been coming. Names, a little less relevant because it's not going to appear on your resume. Now, the certificates could definitely appear on your resume. And if they were on your resume, you could say industry career essentials, comma, geography or stakeholders. So anyway, that would be naming for certificates. Now, Now, obviously, the next thing after the certificates would be the certification. If we said, okay, you get 5 of these certificates and then you qualify for the certification, that would be something that would potentially appear on a resume after a student's name or a industry professional's name. And then, then the question there would, what do you name that? And so this is the only thing that I've come up with at this point. And if anybody has a great idea, I'd love to hear it, and I'll give you credit for it as well. Industry career professional, was something that I came up with, and and a potential abbreviation for that. I'm going to take suggestions in a minute. Let me just cover the rest of the stuff on the slide, and then we'll pause again. Pricing. As you well know, our certifications all come in at $95. The CHIA, the new version of the CATA, which would be the Hospitality Research Specialist, Hospitality and Tourism Research Specialist would come in at $95. So those would be the certifications. Now, for a certificate, I'm not sure. Does $45 sound right? Would love to hear from you as well. And then the question is, if we put those certificates together, like we say, okay, if you get 5 certificates, then you get a certification. What's the, what kind of price point do you put on that? 195 sounds like a lot, but that's where I'm a little stumped there. As far as pricing for a student, we would have these on our learning management system. So if you went to the learning management system, you could see the certificates. You could, potentially purchase one for $45, but then you could also be offered, hey, if you want to get all 8, you could just pay, one price and you would get all 8. And of course, if you're getting all 8, you're getting them for about half price. Again, but would 195 still sounds like a lot of money for a freshman or a sophomore. So I'm not, at that point, I'm still don't have a good solution for that, and any input would love to hear it. I will share with you the why a career reasons in just a minute, but one thing that has come up, and I've actually discussed this with two universities, is the idea of a version of the essential topics for high school juniors and seniors. Now, this would be a much shorter, much lighter version of the content. It would be gamified, interactive, easy, fun activity type included. And but it would be a great way to support universities wishing to offer some sort of a summer camp experience for high school seniors or high school juniors. I've worked with, I know Cornell has done that in the past and it's been effective. I think other schools have done that, and I'm talking to some schools that would be interested as well. So that's a little bit about positioning. Now, I still want to go through. I have all, for each of these, I want to show you the outlines and the sample slides, and then show you the actual reasons, why a career in hospitality. But let me take a second just to pause right now and just see if there's any initial input related to any of these topics that I've mentioned here, especially if anybody has to jump off. And Mary, I'll let you monitor the chat if anybody wants to put them in the chat.
So, Steve, I really like the idea of the certificates because down here in the Valley, we're doing more and more things with high schools. And I think this is a national issue where the awareness for hospitality programs is moderate to declining. And so I think all of the universities are definitely looking to reach back into high school levels and create awareness. So, we recently just had a conference for about 200 high school students here in the Valley, and really the purpose of it was just to create awareness of our industry and career options and things like that. So I think this particular one, the slide that you're just showing with the 8 certificates, sounds like a really good way to incorporate that down to high school levels, because there's a lot of high school faculty, as you know, that are not trained in hospitality, and they just sort of asked to teach a class. So something like this would be, I think, working with, at least down here in Texas, with Debbie Wheeland and folks down here at the Texas Hotel Lodging Association. I think they would love to take this, because as you know, they're already doing summer camps and things like that, right? So this could be very powerful.
No, that's fantastic, AJ. And Fran's on the call. Fran has had some great contacts with DECA, the head of DECA.
Sure.
And, that would be, a really neat opportunity to have something to offer to them as well. And really be a great for the pipeline of students coming into your programs. It'd be so exciting to get them excited about a career in hospitality and tourism. Fran, thank
Steve,
you.
I'm also interested in the summer camp idea.
Awesome.
Steve, thank you. Can you hear me okay?
Sure can.
All right, great. So absolutely. So I think everything I'm hearing this morning gives me ideas for something else. So I think we have a long list we can talk about after the call, but I do think there's some new opportunities we could take to get into the high schools, which is great.
Fantastic. Anybody else?
Yes, we
And
do.
you can,
We do have a few questions in the chat. Steve, if you'd
Yeah.
like me to read them, I can, or you are welcome to read them.
that'd be great if you don't mind, Mary.
All right, great. So Mamet is asking, I received my certificate, CHATA and CHIA last year. Do I have to recertify again?
Good question. The CHIA and the CATA both had 5-year expiration dates. So that's why we have launched the CHIA recertification. We we unfortunately that was 5 years late, and no comment there. So that's out there now. The CATA has not. But so basically, we still need to talk about the transition in CATA into the CHIA, but or into the new ones. But yeah, wouldn't initially have to do that for sure.
All All right, great. And then another one along the same lines, and then another one about the career explorations. So first of all, we have Celine who is saying, when is the COTA taking in effect? We are planning for a batch of students for COTA in March.
And don't do anything different for that in March, Celine. We're talking about we would probably we'll communicate with you well before that, get your input, and then look at either rolling that out in the summer or for next year. So nothing immediate. If you would like to pilot the new approach, if you'd be excited about that, we have two professors that have offered to pilot the new approach and get us input. Let me know and would love to chat with you more about that.
All right. And then
Thanks,
Jane,
Steve. Yeah.
thank you. So then Jane Boland is saying, I agree with AJ. We do a career explorations on campus each year, and I think this would be an incredible value add.
Awesome. Awesome.
And then Jane also said, and Fran, I am our DECA chapter advisor. So if there's any interest in a pilot, I'm happy to. So that's fantastic.
Awesome.
Then we have a question. Does the CHIA have an expiration date for students also?
Yes, it was initially a 5-year expiration date, and we have moved that to a 4-year date. So this, I don't exactly remember when that took effect. It may take effect now, this year, but we moved it to a 4-year. Our goal was when we originally conceptualized this that we didn't want a student who took the CHIA in their freshman year. Many schools, Cornell, for example, offers the CHIA in their freshman year. We didn't want them to have to recertify before they graduated. So that's why we made it a 5-year. Now, one of the things that we have noticed is the content changes so much that that's the only reason we slipped it from 5 to 4.
Mm-hmm.
And I see Bob's smiling face.
Yes. Okay.
Bob, I think you're a host now. So,
yes.
Or you want to, Bob, can you jump in and say hi?
Oh, he's still on mute. I don't know why.
That's okay. Bob,
All
we
right.
can't hear you. So sorry.
Sorry,
Not a
I
problem.
have no idea why. Okay, so then we do have
Not
a
a
couple
problem.
more questions. Hold on, I've got to get those back on my screen. Okay. Fahad is asking, or suggesting actually, so ears up. I suggest certified hospitality and tourism professional CHTP. Consider adding badges, micro-credentials to recognize achievements within the program. Lowering the price to $19 per certificate and $95 for all 8 certificates would be much more reasonable for students.
That's awesome. That's awesome feedback.
Okay,
Go
great.
ahead. I didn't mean to interrupt.
Oh, no, you're fine. And then Marianne is suggesting or asking, will the CRIA be available for this semester?
We're both are good questions. Remit, the CHTP and the 19 and 95. Who offered that suggestion? Fahad, thank you so much. And then the CRIA, great question. We are piloting that now with schools. So if you would like to pilot that with them, let me know. We have about 10 schools in the US and then 2 schools in the UK that are piloting that. So drop me an email and I'll be glad to talk with you more about that.
All right, great. I'll drop your email address in response to Marianne's question.
Awesome. Well, let me go through, if there are no more questions, let me go through and show you, some of the sample slides that are in here and just give you a sort of whet your appetite. As I said, these PowerPoints are created. You're welcome to download these and get into these and use them and let me know. And then, but let's run through and I'll show you what's included in these. Stakeholders. Now, this is the outline. And as you can see, every one of these has a quick intro at the, chapter 1. And the last chapter is going to be sort of summary and takeaways. of each of these topics. So when it comes to stakeholders, most of the content is related to the major stakeholders, the hotels, the management companies, the parent companies, independents around the world. But then we cover additional players and we talk about marketing groups, associations, organizations, travel companies. Then number four, internet companies, the OTAs, the review websites, the search websites. And then chapter five, all the alternative lodging and adjacent accommodations. So, a lot more than Airbnb in the short-term rental space. And we talk about that. And then we talk about all the other type of adjacent accommodations. And I'll show you some samples of those in that as well. The stake at the end, the impact and takeaway sort of always will come back and say, why does this matter as far as your career is concerned? If you're already committed to be a hotel industry professional or a hospitality and tourism industry professional, but it also opens goes back to the why a career. This is why it's valuable. This is, the content here sort of relates it back. So I'm just sharing a couple slides in here. We won't go through all of these, but the hotel industry stakeholders are complicated more than any other industry. There are lots of stakeholders and it's complicated. Parent companies and related brands. Dwayne, thank you for the number. Over 800 parent companies. And so we go through and we show them samples of this. How many people could guess, even come close to naming all the chains under the Marriott International parent company? But we show, we're showing them the top 20 parent companies around the world, not just the U.S. ones, but other ones as well, and all the various chains that go under there. It's complicated and but interesting too. Additional players. Here are all the additional players, the marketing groups, the tourism organizations, the hotel associations, all the travel companies, the service providers, and on and on and on. A lot of other players in the industry. Here are marketing groups, which most kids would have never heard of before, but we'll show them examples of those and why it's relevant. Here are all the travel related companies. So when people are guests, they're not just staying in a hotel, they're taking advantage of all these other companies as well. Hotel service providers, we show them it's a big world when it comes to hospitality stakeholders. There are lots of other people that are interested in the hotel industry. And then you talk about the internet players and all the various types. That this might be too much information, but here's a look at all the alternative lodging players. A lot more than Airbnb. If you're in China, it's what is it? Golly damn! I used to know that, but all the all the variations around the world when it comes to alternative lodging, and then beyond the short-term rental, multiple rooms to rent. We have bed and breakfast, guest house, hostels, special housing, condo hotels, corporate housing, all these other parts of the hospitality industry. When it comes to outdoor experience, you have glamping, safari, cabins, adjacent accommodations. And I just use the name adjacent. I can't remember who came up with that, but you have casino, cruise, spa, ski, airline, and then hospital. Obviously there's a lot of overlap there. Finally, we tie it back to the takeaways. For an industry professional, relationships are critical. You learn that and you see the value of that. But then you emphasize the employment opportunities. When you get a degree in hospitality and tourism, you don't just have to go to work for a hotel or restaurant. All these other opportunities, innovation opportunities, international opportunities. So we always sort of finish with a slide or two like that just sort of ties it back, again reinforcing the value if they've already committed, or opening their eyes to the opportunity if they haven't already committed to a career in hospitality. Good. That's stakeholders. Let me do if anybody has a question or a chat, just come off mute and let us know, or put the chat in there, and Mary will let you in, and but that's the first one. The next one is hotel and tourism industry geography. And here's the outline for that. And essentially what we're doing is we're taking your students on a tour of the world. And why are we doing that? Well, obviously, your students, Bob's students are going to know the hotel industry in North Carolina and maybe Southeast U.S. and maybe the U.S. And but here we're opening their eyes to the rest of the world. What's it like in Asia? What are the countries? What are the markets? What about Europe? What about Eastern Europe? What about Mideast, Africa? And then all the special destinations that people think of when they think about the hospitality and tourism industry. So we start off with, why do you care? And that's, I'm basically doing that for every one of these. The first couple slides is, why do you care about stakeholders? Why do you care about geography? And so I have a fair, one or two slides in there about what's the relevance of this topic for you in your future. Then an introduction, and this sort of talks about what we're doing in this and where we're going, and a special emphasis on making the participant industry savvy when it comes to things like countries and markets. Ask, think about, I mean, gosh, kids, grandkids, whoever you have. I mean, we don't, they don't, their knowledge of geography is weak already. Now, when it's related to a hotel industry, I'm not sure it's much better. So anyway, we start off, this is, sort of trivia at the beginning. What are the top 15 countries when it comes to hotel rooms and hotel properties? And some of these are obvious, but some are not. Then what are the top markets in the world when it comes to hotel rooms? And everybody's going to, not know that the top markets are, nowhere close to the top three markets are nowhere close to the U.S. And look at the China influence impact here. But then essentially we start on a trip around the world. We're looking at, remember, there are 4 continent groups. So we're looking at Americas. Here are all the markets in Americas. Now, the cool thing that I've updated here when it comes to geography, all these screenshots are coming out of the new CoStar product. If you do not have a subscription to that, look how cool these screenshots are. This is every market in the Americas, a little blue circle for every one. So basically, these are the markets. Here are the subcontinents, and here are the markets. Then we zoom in on each. Well, actually, I jumped a little bit. So we start with continents, then we cover each subcontinent. When we're in a subcontinent, we then cover each country. I jumped right to a country, but again, another screenshot. This shows you every hotel in the United States. 87,000 little diamonds up there. Most of them are gray. If that hotel is for sale right now, that's a blue diamond instead of a gray diamond. And that's, again, we're looking at geography. But, y'all know, hey, what do you see from this? Look at the concentration on the coasts and all kinds of things you could talk about here. And then, of course, in the U.S., now what we do in the U.S., as we're looking through that country, we're looking at every region of the world, 9 census regions. And then as we cover a census region, we go into every country. Excuse me, every state. Where am I? Every state. So here's the state of Florida. Here are the markets in Florida, and here they're listed. Number of rooms and number of hotels in every market. Here's a map of all the hotels in Florida as well. So we're covering the markets. We're covering the breakdown by scale here. So you see each of the different scales plus the independent hotels. And then we see each of the submarkets. Florida, I think, has the most submarkets of any state in the U.S., and you see how that's broken down, and the submarkets very interesting as well. And of course, then we're going throughout the world. So we're covering, when we're in the Americas, we're looking at, there's a whole set of slides on Canada, Mexico, the Caribbean, and then we go into Central America, South America. Yeah, Caribbean, Central America, South America. We're covering all the countries in each of those, all the major markets in each of those. Then we go to Asia. Okay, so for Asia, we're looking at four subcontinents in Asia. One of the subcontinents is Northeastern Asia. And here is all of Northeastern Asia, China, South Korea, and Japan, Taiwan, and you see all the countries. Forgot about Mongolia. 59 markets, 195 submarkets. So you get the idea. Here's the subcontinent. Again, we're covering every one, and you can use this as much or as little as you want. And here, for example, there's a whole section on, what we do outside of, what we do outside of America, U.S. is when we're covering a subcontinent, we will pick probably mostly in most cases we're picking at least two countries in that subcontinent as a sample. So when I'm covering northeastern, here it is, northeastern Asia, I'm focusing in then on the country of China and Japan. And that's what's in there. Now, here's is the open door. If let's say you're in a school from South Korea, if you want to, we'll do South Korea together, and I'll add it in, and then in the future, South Korea will be in there as well. So just an opportunity for y'all to have input on each one of these. But let's look at China for a second. Here are all the countries in China. Here are all the markets in China. So this is like China Geography 101 if you haven't had it, and I'm not an expert as well, but you can see Kunming on here, Wuhan on here, where they are, where's Sanya. Sanya's down here in the Hainan province. That's the big resort destination, so you get the idea. But then look what I do. Well, I had a slide like this for US and then one for Canada. In China, what are the geographic categories? In China, they're called provinces, and they're also regions, and then there are special administrative regions like Hong Kong and Macau. China cities are categorized into 6 different tier groups, and we talk about that. And then, oh shoot, I didn't have it in here. I have a really good slide that looks at all the markets and tells you whether they're a province, a region, or a city. And I had thought I moved that into there, and I didn't. My fault. Here's just another sample from that. Here's Europe, all the markets in Europe, and then we cover each one of these. We go into each of the subcontinents. Here is a sample of a subcontinent in one of the continents is Mideast and Africa. Here is the Mideast subcontinent. Talk about a relevant topic. The Mideast is so hot right now in terms of hotel development. Look, there are 14 countries in here. Here's the order: United Arab Emirates and Saudi Arabia. And then look at all the hotels in the Mideast. And then so 14 countries, but the Gulf Cooperation Council is just 6 of those countries. You get the idea of what we're trying to cover. There's that takes your students around the world, opens their eyes to everything, what are the hot markets and countries around the world, a lesson in geography, if you think that would be relevant. I do talk a little bit about some of the special names and special groups of countries. And then we talk about special destinations. Here are island destinations. I give you some samples of those. Here's the Maldives. That's right near India. Turks and Caicos in the Caribbean. And then there's I don't have all these, but they're in the PowerPoint, but I don't have all the samples. Where's Fiji? Where's the Seychelles? Where's French Polynesia? What about mountain destinations? Here's Chamonix, and with Mont Blanc in the distance. Here's Zermatt with the Matterhorn in the distance. Peru and Machu Picchu. We had somebody who's in Peru. Kilimanjaro. Everest, and so here. What about safari destinations? So you get the idea. We're just opening the door to what a big world and a huge industry, and this is one of the takeaway slides at the end. So again, just opening the eyes of the students to see what an exciting industry we're in, and geographic takeaways as well. Good. Let me pause for a second. Any feedback from the first two? Don't mean to be talking too much. We're getting. I'll finish up the rest in real quick. Let me go ahead and do branding. Branding.
One
I
second,
cover.
Steve. Let me see. I think
Yeah,
we
go
just got
ahead.
a new question.
Yeah.
Crystal said, regarding geography, I think it could also be linked to the career development somehow. From my experience, I have seen many leaders that have worked in multiple countries and regions. It is definitely beneficial to have this information and see the possibilities.
And that's great, Crystal. I try to include that at some of the slides at the end of that, geographic takeaways, um, positioned, not only can it move up or diversify, and so I add some of that. Again, Chris would love to get you, take a look at this, give me ideas, if there are other points that I need to make in here, would love to have everyone's input on this as well. Let me pick up the speed real quick and cover the rest of these, and because I don't want to keep you all waiting. But the third one is on branding, basics, current trends, history, hotel types and special focus brands, beyond branding, related topics, and then of course the takeaways at the end. So again, starting off with why is this important for you? Branding blur. It can be confusing. It happens fast and it's complicated for sure. Um, lot of examples from history. Look at Best. Remember, most of us all lived through this. It was 2011 when Best Western announced the fact that they were going from one chain to three, and now they're up to like 19 different Best Western related brands. Talk about the big six parent companies and how they've changed over time. Talked about mergers and acquisitions over time. Oops. I go through the history of about 20 different parent companies. So I knew everybody would know Marriott and Hilton and Hyatt and those, but how many of you know Accor history, Paul de Breuil and Gerard Pelesson? And how did Accor come to be what it is right now? So a little bit of history of each one of these, IHG and the top 20, a couple international, a couple Asia chains in there, and it could really get more help from y'all on some of those other ones as well. But they're in there as a resource. Then there's a whole chapter related to diversification in the hotel industry. Everybody knows types like extended stay, all suite, things like that. Just cover the soft brands, talk about boutique and lifestyle, special focuses. Here, just fly through the soft brands. How did they start? Now you even have stratification among the soft brands, luxury, up mid scale, unbelievable. Here's a recent list of soft brands from the STR hotel database. Then we talk about lifestyle brands, and we talk about how these are qualified, and we bring in that group that a lot of people refer to, um, that you know organizes these by lifestyle and the other ones. We talk about special focus brands, uh, and then we go through examples of that. Here's business traveler, road warrior brands, so to speak, foreigner friendly brands, health and wellness brands, all kinds of, and gosh, a lot of these are new within the last 5 years. Outdoor location brands. Did you know Field and Stream? Geez, and most people knew Great Wolf, and then ultra luxury. Where the Belmont, that would be a great, brand to zoom in on. That's the one that goes with Versace and Louis Vuitton, and then now they have a hotel group within there. Then we talk about hybridization and lots of examples: hostel, shared accommodation, camping variations, and apartment and portable. So here are the hybrid hostel brands, hybrid apartment brands. We cover hybrid. Uh, was it hybrid shared accommodation, like roommate is a great example there, and so that's pretty cool. And then finally, additional branding related topics like collaboration. Look at all the companies that weren't in the hotel industry 15 years ago or less, and now they're in the hotel industry. Virgin is a great example of that. We talk about dual and triple branding, a new there again, it's a related topic that we cover at the end, and show a lot of examples of that. So we finish up with branding takeaways, just sort of like we talked about, and that's the branding one. The intro to big data, let me just cover the outline for that. This is sort of building a foundation before the CHIA and before the CATA. And it's more, it covers why would someone in the hotel and industry why would a hotel and industry professional even care about data? And so we talk about different types, additional types, data basics, breakdowns, and analysis skills, just helping them understand, why do you even care about data and what would be involved in it? Storytelling with data, and then some fun examples. How have things, data related uh, or data related processes that have changed over time. How's reserving a hotel room changed over time? How have hotel reviews changed over time? And then we wrap it, wrap it up with tying it back to data analytics and why would you care if you want to be a hotel and tourism professional in the future. Development I won't cover, but the as I said, that's a little less important potentially. But the key here is we're connecting the dots between uh, the hotel industry and development or real estate, because typically a student going into into a hospitality career, they may not even think that a hotel is a critical type of real estate. And you have some people out there that don't care about the operations, but they just care about buying it, and investing in it for a real estate return. And so that's what that sort of covers. And I'm going to jump through those. Economics is still the same, it's sort of the same thing. We're connecting the dots here between uh, the hospitality and tourism industry and some economics. We introduced, correlations between things like GDP and workforce and stuff like that. Hot topics you can see, trying to show all the various neat things that are going on and what's in the news, what are the hot topics, robotics, chatbots, innovations. This is definitely under construction. And that takes us to the very last one, why a career in hospitality. And so, as I said, as I was working on this, I've been, coming up with a list, and you can see some of these come directly from the training that we've just reviewed. No more global industry in the world than hospitality and tourism. Hospitality is the most diverse set of stakeholders. Graduates have a huge set of career opportunities, even beyond hotels and tourism. Interconnected and indispensable. The workforce. Best way to learn and experience branding, customer niches, in the news, meeting incredible international attention, and so on. And what I'm working on with this list, and I'll get this out to anybody who wants it and would like to provide input. But essentially, what I'm working on for each of these reasons, I then have subpoints that sort of back up the reason. So when it comes to branding, over 1,500 different hotel chains in the world, thousands of uniquely different independent hotels, some of the richest histories, most diverse set of different types of hotels and brands, including special focuses. Students can learn how branding trends change over time. And no better industry in the world to learn and gain hands-on experience with the standards of customer service in the world. High premium on guest experience, intricate complexities, unique opportunities to, to practice at and balance it between high tech, high touch. Definitely a work in progress, and be glad to get this out. And any input that you might have would be definitely welcome. So that is it. I would love, your input is incredibly valuable. If, we can take some time now to talk. If you need to run off, totally understand. If you feel like dropping me an email in the future with any ideas or questions, don't hesitate to do that. And, but, would love, I'll definitely willing to stay on and talk about any of these that people would like to talk about. Ideas, suggestions, questions, possibilities as far as the reasons, pricing recommendations. If you're interested in piloting, like I said, the 5 or 6 of them are all ready for you to pilot. It's not perfect, but definitely good enough for you to be able to pilot. There are places where I can add a few more things in, but definitely something that is finished enough for you to share with a class. And then, of course, one of the important things that sort of come up in some of our questions is how to get input on this in the future. So when Crystal is using this and has a couple ideas, I want you to be able to get that back to me, and then I want to acknowledge your contribution as well, with a note at the bottom, kindly provided by, you know, Crystal Morales, comma, University of such and such. So that would definitely be the case. So good. Let me stop sharing. And oh, great. We had some more people join us. Good to see everybody. Any follow-up questions or ideas? Feel free to come off mute if you have any things that you would like to share.
I think a really good presentation, Steve. Thank you so much. And I think these eight sessions, I guess there are eight different modules, right, within the one that you showed. I mean, it would be fantastic to introduce those to the people and get them interested in the industry. One of the things I just learned at Alice, and I think I've been reading a little bit more about that, is that, in the 90s when hotel companies started to go asset light, from ownership to basically management and branding. I guess the next phase now, which is going to be coming, and I guess it's already started because it came up on the CEO panel, is that a lot of the bigger companies like the Marriotts and Hiltons are now going to start focusing only on branding. And the role of the third party management companies in careers is going to be a lot more important. So really, ultimately, our students at some point, not next year, but in the next 4 or 5 years, will be working not for a Marriott or a Hilton, but they'll actually be working for an Aimbridge or Davidson or White Lodging, or which they already are. But that role is going to, so as we think about this certification in careers, and if we're trying to tie it in with where are people going to be actually working, the jobs are going to be actually with the third parties as opposed to with a brand. The brand will be important, obviously, but just something to consider as we think about these sessions, because that's the management company part is going to become a lot more prominent. So.
Yeah, AG, those are great points. I do have I do mention the asset light trend
Right.
in the stakeholder
Sure,
section.
sure.
But I think, emphasizing the importance of management companies and the fact that, because most kids think they're going to graduate and go to work for Marriott or go to work for
Right.
Hill. Yeah, wait a minute, you're going to have a better career if you go to work for Aimbridge or you go to work for Host or it's help them understand that as well.
And it's just that the jobs are going to be there. And in fact, you already have those core slides in the CHIA. You
Mm-hmm,
already have those, for the third parties already there. So
mm-hmm,
it would just be a matter of, you know, going deeper into it, just like you have with the branding and stuff like that. So at some point, it doesn't have to be right now, but just something, because that was my big takeaway from Alice. I didn't realize that companies are now, because, being, I guess, public companies, they're going to make more money just staying on the branding side as opposed to getting in operations, because operations is getting very complex now.
mm-hmm.
And so the management companies are just finding it's not worth their while to, well, the brands that to stay in operations and do the branding. So it sounds
Mm-hmm.
like that's where now, there's going to be a big focus in terms of growth for students, in terms of
Now,
jobs.
that's great, AJ. And the other thing that AJ made me think of is the fact that this content would be content that we would be updating on a regular basis. So I would imagine every fall, we go through this content, update it, regenerate stats, and then have it ready for the beginning of the next year. So that would be a fair amount of effort, but effort that would be worth it for sure.
Yeah, and one more thing, in your CHIA certification, you actually have a very nice slide, a couple of slides on the hotel ecosystem, where you have basically ownership, management company, branding, and asset management. Somewhere in these slides early on, I think it'll be nice to put in that ecosystem so they know the entire ecosystem of hotels, where you have the ownership side, the management side, the asset management, and the branding. So as you kind of go in that, I think it'll highlight that for a professor teaching it as well.
Absolutely. Great idea. Any other feedback? Oriole, Elizabeth, great to have you. Mark, Gina, any,
Thanks. I might reach out to you, Steve. I have some extra questions I'm going to ask.
awesome. Glad to have you join us all.
I just left a comment saying that it's great, these new material programs that you've created, and I'm looking forward to see the actual complete slides on the Dropbox folder and see in which subjects we can start teaching them, sorry. So thanks a lot.
Perfect. And as I mentioned, there are 5 PowerPoints that are ready right now. So anybody who would like to get access to those, drop me an email, steve@str.com or shood@str.com. Drop me an email. We'll get you into that, and so you could you could look at those immediately and take a look and potentially use those on Monday if you so desired. So they're in there, and a couple of them, the development and the economics are more in the middle of work. You'd be welcome to look at what they look like right now. Hot Topics is under construction though, so that is not ready, but all the rest really are ready. So good.
So Steve, this is Fran. I just want to say thank you for your, I think it's probably lifelong connection with academia and your support for our universities who teach hospitality. And thank you for the time today to prepare what's coming and what's in development or what's very close to launch. And I just really appreciate the time you give for ICHRIE and your partnership. And I just want to thank everybody for joining us today. And thank you, Mary, for arranging all the logistics in your busy world. We really appreciate you and thank you. Thanks, Steve. We really appreciate the time.
Thanks, everyone. So glad you could join.
Thank you. Really, really good update. Appreciate everything, guys.